We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words. I submit that these impressions are valid and significant, and I will even say this: such an impression is a clue that at some past time point, a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this, an alternative world branched off.
Good morning and welcome to yet another edition of Navigating the Astrological Matrix. I'm your host, Robert Phoenix, and we are going to be touring around the stars today to kind of get a glimpse into what is happening astrologically. And of course, there's always an opportunity for you to call in, and I can answer your astrological questions to the best of my ability, and do free, quote-unquote, free mini readings. If you have not been to my website, I encourage you to do so. It's robertphoenix.com, and you can find out more about who I am, what I do, how I do it by showing up there. And if you would like to get a more in-depth astrological reading, you can do so at my site as well. Sign up for any number of options, whether it's a full reading, a mini reading. I do readings for couples. I do readings for vocation. I do readings for children. You name it. I am your one-stop shop. And you can experience a little bit of that here on the air with me. So today is the 8th of February, and I want to give two shout-outs. I want to give a shout-out to my buddy Dell. Happy birthday, belated yesterday. You know, I already said it, but shout-out to you. And then Lucia. Kind of interesting, Dell, which is like E-L, which is, you know, the light, or D-L, you know, D in the light, and Lucia, which is also light. Lucia, it's her birthday today. Happy birthday, Lucia. And I wish you a very merry and festive celebration on your birthday. So two personal birthday shout-outs. Some interesting birthdays today. Excuse me. Some interesting birthdays today. And kind of fascinating astrological implications. The first that really jumps out at me is today is the birthday of Nick Nolte and Neil Cassidy. Now, the reason I find this fascinating is because Nick Nolte actually played Neil Cassidy in a movie called Heartbeat. And it's about Neil Cassidy's relationship with Jack Kerouac, who I believe is played by John Hurd in the movie. So here we have somebody who's portraying a person that they share the same birthday with. It's kind of fascinating. Nolte's chart is, well, it's pretty interesting. He's got some major action in his first house. Jupiter right there in Taurus on the 1st, Saturn also in Taurus on the 1st, that's right, and they're both conjunct exactly 8 degrees, and then he also has Uranus in Taurus. So Nick Nolte is a pretty willful individual, let's put it that way. And those planets are not squaring his sun. The only one the planet that squares his sun is Uranus out of those fixed squares. So he has Uranus squaring his sun. And that would add to his sort of rebellious nature. Interesting opposition between Venus and Pluto. Venus in the 4th house, Venus in the 10th house, and Pluto in the 4th house. And I believe it's an exact opposition. You have 2 degrees, 2 degrees. It's got a lot of exact sort of action going on in this chart. The exact conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn, the exact opposition between Pluto and Venus, and Mars in the 8th house, tempestuous Mars in the 8th house in Sagittarius. So Nick Nolte, don't fence him in. When we look at Neil Cassidy's chart, let's check out Neil Cassidy, just for, as they say, shits and giggles. So Neil Cassidy's chart, see if there's any correlation here. This would be interesting. Well, what's fascinating is that Cassidy has a Venus-Neptune opposition, while Nolte has a Venus-Pluto opposition. So they both have Venus opposed major planets, the outer planets, but it's flipped. Excuse me. For Cassidy, his Venus is in the 3rd house, and his Neptune is in the 9th house. And Cassidy's chart actually makes a lot of sense. If you know anything about Neil Cassidy, he's a nutcase, number one, bisexual, and a lover of Jack Kerouac. And you can see where that could really take shape. Down in the 3rd house, he's got Venus in Aquarius at 17 degrees, conjunct Sun at 17 degrees. And Venus in Aquarius is it's interesting. It's like, there isn't a lot of, I wouldn't say discretion, but let's just say people that have Venus in Aquarius are not as attached to traditional relationships as other people. Okay, they're just not. Venus in Aquarius is much more open and has a greater sense of latitude in terms of the types of relationships that they allow into their lives, and it's in the 3rd house for Cassidy, and Venus it's 1 degree off of his sun, so there is a sense here of because it's the 3rd house, which is the house of Gemini, that Cassidy was trying to understand himself intensely through his connection with another being. And that being, obviously, for quite a while was Jack Kerouac. And Cassidy had a very strange and kind of tragic death. He died in Mexico. And if you look at that again, you'll see Neptune in the 9th house, which is the house of travel in foreign countries, and it's opposing his Venus in Aquarius and Sun in Aquarius. And towards the end of Cassidy's life, first of all, he was totally strung out and addicted to speed. He was a speed freak, and there's a movie out. It's been out for a few years, and it's with Ken Kesey, and it's kind of like the lost footage of Kesey's further tour around America. So it starts off in La Honda, where I lived. It's funny, you can actually watch in this movie the bus pull out of Ken Kesey's place, and I used to drive past that place every single day when I lived there. So the bus, so they leave La Honda. Well, first of all, they're getting geared up to go, and by this time, Cuckoo's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is a major hit in terms of publishing, and they actually turned it into a play in New York. And part of what they were doing was they were going to go see the play in New York City. That was part of what they were doing. The other part of what they were doing was just a social experiment. They're all completely out of their gourds on LSD. And Cassidy shows up just before they're getting ready to take off. And what's interesting about this film is that they shot all these hours of footage, but there's no sound. So what the producers of the film did is they went back in time and they added the dialogue, and they had people doing sort of, audio verite and talking over the film and narrating certain pieces. There was no Q&A. There was just kind of a stream of consciousness dialogue. These people were riffing on about who they were, where they were, what was happening in a particular scene. And so Cassidy shows up, and he's shirtless, and he's totally off his noggin on speed. And when you see him at the beginning of the film, it's kind of like, okay, it's kind of weird, kind of makes sense. Cassidy's one of these. He's a strange figure for the hippie era, right? Because these are people that are embarking. This is, they're getting ready to peak into the summer of love. I believe this is like 1965 when they're doing this trip, 65, 66. And so Cassidy is this interesting kind of transitional figure. He's not as old as, like, say, Kerouac. By the time they actually go to New York in this movie and they find Kerouac, and he's, he's bitter, he's an alcoholic. It's kind of a sad scene to watch, to kind of witness it. But he's younger than Kerouac. He's kind of, in some ways, he might have been. In some ways, he was kind of like Allen Ginsberg, but Ginsberg actually translated more into the hippie scene than Cassidy does. So Cassidy's this weird kind of transitional figure between the Beats and the hippies. And you watch him as he's driving this bus, and he talks non-stop. I mean, he's riffing and ranting. The guy is just, he's on a kind of a last-ditch speed trip from hell. Although they're cool with him, they like him. He's a great driver. He can drive hours on end. The only problem is you have to listen to him. So, and maybe that's one of the reasons why the film was silent. Anyway, towards the end of his life, he got into some very strange stuff. And in fact, Hunter S. Thompson talks about when he was hanging out with Kesey, and really more to the point, the Hells Angels, and he was at the Hells Angels at Kesey's place one day, and Cassidy allowed his wife Carolyn to basically be gang raped by a group of Hells Angels, gang bang, gang rape, very violent, and he watched this whole thing. It was like and Hunter S. Thompson writes about it. It's disturbing. So he eventually goes down to Mexico. I don't know what happens in Mexico, but this increasing sense of dislocation and violence creeps into Neal Cassidy's life, and he dies. He's basically beaten up. He's beaten to death near a railroad track down in Mexico. And here we have the Venus-Neptune opposition in the chart, which would indicate, especially traveling in foreign countries, that this could be a challenging aspect. Also, Cassidy, Pluto in the 8th house, and how many times have we seen people with an 8th house Pluto kind of have these strange, sudden, and mysterious deaths, violent deaths at times. Jimi Hendrix, Pluto in the 8th house. Bruce Lee, Pluto in the 8th house. Neal Cassidy, Pluto in the 8th house. So other than that, I mean, he has nothing in common with the opposition with Venus and Neptune. Is in some ways common to Nick Nolte's Venus opposition Pluto, but that's about the size of the two of their charts. I think it's interesting, though, that Nick Nolte would play his time twin. More birthdays today. We also have, there's some interesting birthdays. I mean, if you lump all these guys together, they make an interesting, group. You've got Neil Cassidy, who I've just talked for the last 10 minutes about. Then you also have Nick Nolte. Everybody knows about Nick Nolte being kind of this wild dude. Everybody's seen the picture, of him being arrested and his crazy hair, right? Today is also the birthday of one James Dean, another kind of rebellious, very archetypal Aquarian, and it's also the birthday of Terry Melcher. And Terry Melcher is the son of Doris Day and was buddies with Charlie Manson. Terry Melcher, Dennis Wilson, Charlie Manson all hung out together. And when the Manson family hit that house where they killed Abigail Folger's daughter, and then they killed, of course, Sharon Tate and some other folks there. That was Terry Melcher's house. They had gone there looking for Terry Melcher, and Terry Melcher was not there. He was a record producer. He actually produced. When you listen, Charles Manson has tracks that you can listen to, and when you listen to those tracks, they were produced by Terry Melcher. So you have Terry Melcher, James Dean, Nick Nolte, Neil Cassidy. I'll throw another one into the mix here. Let's see, who else do we have? Well, those are the four that I think are really interesting in terms of a cluster, like a personality cluster. There's also Emanuel Swedenborg and Martin Buber. And Martin Buber, his birthday, Martin Buber is the Jewish mystic who came up with the concept of the I-thou relationship. Very interesting concept. And then Emanuel Swedenborg, excuse me, the Swedish mystic who started to have religious experiences, mystical experiences, and had to actually reevaluate his faith, his Christian faith, and essentially come up with his own religion. It's called Swedenborgianism. And I went to a Swedenborgian church on Christmas Eve one year in San Francisco. I think it was 1999. 1999, just before the turn of the century. Swedenborgian Church, Nob Hill. No, it wasn't Nob. It was Pacific Heights in San Francisco. And Swedenborg, of course, was a major influence on the life of William Blake. Let's check out his chart real quickly here. So Swedenborg, it's amazing how they have the birth times for some of these people. Swedenborg has a first house that is unlike any first house I've seen. His first house is essentially 15, 30, 60. He's got a 75-degree first house. Incredible. Mercury, Jupiter, Sun, all conjunct in Aquarius. That would certainly qualify him as being a visionary. Neptune in Pisces, Venus also in Pisces, and not conjunct. And then let's see, he's got Pluto in the 7th house. Bizarre chart. T-square, Moon, Venus, Mars in the 11th, Sagittarius. Interesting, kind of like Nolte, later degree. And Mars and Sagittarius, don't fence them in. Do not fence Mars and Sagittarius in. They want to believe what they want to believe, share what they want to share, be who they are. It's a very common theme with Mars and Sagittarius. Lana Turner, her birthday today, the sultry Lana Turner. Jules Verne, talk about visionary, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. His birthday is today, and Jack Lemmon. Great actor, Jack Lemmon. I always thought that thing with Ving Rhames giving Jack Lemmon his Oscar was completely bizarre. I'm not sure what that was about. And then we have also John Grisham. Some of you might be into John Grisham's novels. I've never read a John Grisham novel. Let's take a quick peek at James Dean's chart, shall we? Let's find out what's going on there. So major oppositions. Pluto-Jupiter conjunction in the 4th house, opposing Mercury and Saturn in Capricorn in the 10th house. Significant the Pluto-Saturn opposition, extremely challenging. Uranus in Aries on the 1st house cusp with the true node at 1 degree. Talk about unstable. Rebellious, extremely rebellious Uranus in Aries 1st house with the true node. So for James Dean, if we want to look at, here's a guy that kind of lived out his life, right? And through his chart in a very congruent fashion. If we look at the true node, the true node being in the 1st house, and we go to the true node as that point in our chart where we really want to express who we are, what we are, how we are in this lifetime. It's in his 1st house. It's right on his ascendant. And it's in the sign of Aries, so it's about identity. He was here to express his identity, and it's conjunct with Uranus in Aries, which is very rebellious. It's extremely rebellious. Aries is will, Uranus it's explosive, it's spontaneous, does not want to be pigeonholed or caged in. You put the two of them together through the ascendant, through the personality. It was, once he accepted that this is who he was or is, it was probably pretty easy for James Dean to be James Dean on some level, right? However, again, extreme stress and dynamics, T-square with Saturn, T-square with Pluto. So you had a Uranus, Pluto, T-square in his chart. Actually, it was Uranus, take that back, Uranus, Jupiter, Uranus, Saturn, T-square nonetheless. Pluto-Saturn opposition. So it'd be interesting to look back in time to see where planets were transiting the day that he cracked his Porsche Spider up and punched his e-ticket. Sun in Aquarius in the 11th house, and that makes sense. James Dean was sexually quite ambiguous in some ways. I read his autobiography many years ago, and he was certainly, at the very least, bisexual, and without a doubt, had no problem doing the casting couch experience. So, Sun in Aquarius actually not a bad placement for him. So there we go. There's some interesting celebrity birthdays today. The moon is in Virgo at 0 degrees, and Venus is in Aries at 0 degrees. And Venus in Aries, and Venus is conjuncting Uranus, by the way, at 2 degrees. So we're in a period now where people can meet people very quickly, very, very quickly. You can have like instant connection with people over the course of the next 72 hours or so. The challenge is when Venus and Uranus conjunct, when you meet somebody under that conjunction, there's generally a sense of passion or explosiveness or a real sense of instant connection, but a lot of the times the connections don't last very long. They don't. It's like bang, really explosive, really powerful, potentially quite passionate, but fizzling, ultimately. So this is a good time in some ways to break yourself kind of out of an emotional rut, or if you're trying to spice up a relationship that you are already in, the Venus-Uranus conjunction would be really good for having some sort of spontaneous encounter. Like, when was the last time, if you're in a LTR, long-term relationship, when was the last time you spontaneously decided to pull the car over and, make mad, crazy love or something along those lines? Venus-Uranus conjunction can, spark and facilitate that. Now, the moon is in Virgo, so it's a little bit of a conservative moon. You kind of have to get through maybe, is this proper? Should we be doing this? But if you get past that, and the moon, by the way, is trining Jupiter, which is a nice trine, so that would really support expanding your emotions in a healthy way. So once you could kind of make peace with yourself, this is healthy. We've known each other for 15 years or 20 years. Let's pull this car over and get busy. I mean, that would be, once you figure that out, Venus-Uranus could be really fun. Absolutely fun. Saturn, still at 29 degrees. Will be getting ready to go backwards and do its retrograde dance. True Node, 11 degrees. Sagittarius, it too is moving backwards and getting closer to some of the Aries aspects. And certainly will be trining Venus in Aries later this month. So that's where we are. It's a decent balance. There's not a lot of water in the sky today. We've got Sun in Aquarius, air, Moon in Virgo, Earth, Mercury in Aquarius, so Mercury and Sun conjunct, which is good. I mean, this is a really good time to be able to expand your philosophical horizons, allow for other and differing points of view. Venus in Aries, I already talked about that. That's fire. Mars in Virgo, 21 degrees. Earth, Mars retrograde, by the way. Jupiter in Taurus, Earth, Saturn in Libra, air, Uranus in Aries, fire. Finally, we come into Neptune, which has just moved into Pisces, water, and Pluto in Capricorn, 8 degrees, Earth. And then lastly, Chiron in Pisces, 4 degrees. So not a lot of water in the sky, although Neptune in Pisces at 0 degrees will certainly make up for it. It's a significant addition to the outer planets in the overall astrological menu. Okay, it is 10:27. You're listening to Navigating the Astrological Matrix, and if I can find my way back, I'll see where I am and find out where my show went. Where did my show go? Where's the studio? Down here? Where'd I go? This is odd. Well, it says I'm still on the air. I can't find my studio. Let's see. Where'd it go? Dang. Okay, so let me see if I can close this window and find where my studio went. You go here, we go to Blog Talk Radio, and see if I can come up with my studio again. Where am I? Yeah, I'm still in the air. Okay. Wow, I lost my studio window. Okay, looks like we have a caller, and let's get this party started. Let's bring them on the air. 302. I'm about ready to open the phone lines. So let's get you on the air, find out who you are and where you're calling from. Hi, you're on the air with Robert. Hello.
Hi, Robert. This is Karen from Delaware.
Hey, Karen from Delaware. How's it going?
I'm doing pretty good. Looks like we might get some snow today.
Well, congratulations on that. How long has it been since you've had snow?
Quite a while. It's been like almost spring weather. So maybe we'll get an inch. That's a lot for Delaware.
Yeah, it's pretty freaky. I was reading some of the reports from the Super Bowl, and it was almost like 60 degrees in Indianapolis in February. It's very strange stuff. Meanwhile, Europe is covered in ice. So the weather is a freak show. And in Brazil, they have one of the hottest heat waves they've had in decades. So things are crazy out there. Well, congratulations on the snow. So what's happening? You're calling the show? Do you want to talk astrology? Do you want me to look at your chart? Where do you want to go today?
Well, I was interested in my chart, but I also wanted to call for a friend of mine. He's working, and he asked me if I could call in, and then he could listen to it later.
Okay.
And his birthday is 9/10/52.
9/10/52. Okay. All right. So, what does he want to get into? Does he have any particular questions?
I guess probably one to focus on career.
Okay. I'm just looking up the solar chart here. Good news for him. He's a water dragon, so this is his year, right? And anytime you get to participate in your quote unquote Chinese year, it's a good thing. So, the Chinese would consider this a blessed year for him. So it's like a homecoming. It's a water dragon homecoming. So it's not only the year of the dragon, which is generally auspicious, but it's in his own element. So straight out of the gate, he's got some good things happening. So 9/10/52. Let's see. Well, the one thing that stands out immediately is not from a career perspective, but from an emotional perspective. He's got Moon in Gemini. I don't know the exact degree, but I'm going to say probably somewhere between 5 and 10. And this year, Jupiter in, I believe it's June, goes into Gemini and will be conjuncting his Moon throughout most of the year. So from June to December, very expansive, emotional time for him. And people that have Moon in Gemini tend to be, they have an interesting relationship with their emotions. They can be very detached. And for a lot of people with Moon in Gemini, doing things like journaling or keeping a diary can be really good for them to chronicle their emotions. And this year would be a really good exercise for him. He may want to look at writing a memoir or writing some form of a kind of a recap or kind of overview of his life from an emotional perspective, maybe just from a process related experience, but certainly he'll have a lot more to share emotionally, and he'll feel extremely confident and be able to expand his emotional sphere and awareness between June and December. Writing would be very, very good for him in terms of being able to get some of that out. Career-wise, whenever I look at career, I start with Jupiter, because that's really where, excuse me, we can expand and where we can sort of push the envelope a little bit, where we can manifest, where our natural realm of blessing and gifts occurs. And he's got Jupiter in Taurus, and Jupiter currently is in Taurus. So the run-up to Jupiter in Gemini is preceded by a run-up with Jupiter and Taurus in his chart. And so he'll have a Jupiter return this year. His Jupiter is at 20 degrees Taurus, and it's retrograde, and it went retrograde on his birthday. And Jupiter in Taurus is exalted. People that have Jupiter in Taurus are, I'll give you an example of Jupiter in Taurus. A lot of times people have Jupiter in the second house, which would be like Jupiter in Taurus. They tend to have a lot of possessions. My father had Jupiter in the second house, and he never made more than $35,000, $40,000 a year, but he drove Mercedes and Cadillacs and he had all these cool toys, but it's not like he made a ton of money to do that. People that have Jupiter in Taurus are generally very abundant and fruitful. So he's got this already hardwired into his chart, but it's retrograde. So it's kind of an interesting aspect. Jupiter's exalted, but at the same time, it's right at the beginning of retrograde. How I would read this is that he may not always be aware of the abundance in his life. He may not always be aware of the blessings that he has. And he'll have to, at times, go back and kind of review what he has, what he doesn't have, and, sort of count his blessings. And the more that he can count his blessings and the more grateful he can be, the more I believe that this aspect of Jupiter can come to the fore. And this year, he, again, with Jupiter on the Jupiter return, he gets to be able to experience that. So he can push the envelope for himself in terms of career. With Jupiter retrograde in his chart, he may want to look at people from his past that can help him. It would be, people from his network that he's had contact with before. So if he wants to maybe make a move in a different career, or he wants to expand where he is in terms of his own career, the advice that I would give him would be get into the Rolodex, or get into the digital address book and look for people that have been supportive in the past, because that would be really highlighted with the Jupiter return. The blessing or the abundance is not always in the future, but sort of what he's already experienced. So from an entrepreneurial standpoint, if he wanted to think about having a second career or maybe a business on the side, the Jupiter return, Jupiter retrograde could offer a window into that and revisiting what he's doing in terms of what brings him both money and opportunity, abundance and pleasure. So I think that this is really a very good year for him, and he can expand, but I think for him to get a kind of a greater depth and understanding around the expansion, for him it would be about looking backwards. We also look at the true node, and we also look at Chiron at times to figure out where there could be potential for not just career opportunity, but also to work with parts of ourselves that are less than developed, try to develop them and build upon them. He's got true node in Aquarius, which is kind of an iconoclastic true node. And there's a sense with true node in Aquarius of being kind of a visionary at times, and being able to, it's a different kind of leadership. It's also his true node is retrograde as well, but it's just at the end of retrograde. It's almost stationary, going direct. So there's a quirkiness with true node in Aquarius, but for him to really take advantage of that in terms of not just his career but his life, he needs to be willing to take risks and being able to kind of be out front with groundbreaking ideas and groundbreaking sort of networks and relationships, to be able to kind of invite everybody to the party and be incredibly inclusive. If we look at the flip side of the true node, which would be the south node, theoretically in past lives, it would have been, it's in Leo, and it would represent royalty, being a leader, but being a leader in a very singular fashion. True node in Aquarius is being a leader, but being a leader with many. So, we live in a time where the internet and networking and computers are really leveling the playing field. So, he would actually have kind of a leg up and a karmic in, so to speak, with the true node in Aquarius. And he also has Chiron in Capricorn, and Pluto has just moved off of his natal Chiron. So he's had Pluto on his Chiron for really the last year. And a lot of times and again, he's got some really interesting stuff. His Chiron is just ready to go direct. So he's got three aspects here. One with the true node, which is stationary, getting ready to go direct. Chiron stationary, getting ready to go direct. Jupiter retrograde, first degree of retrograde. So he's got some interesting aspects that are inclusive of these in-between states. So transitions for him, I believe, would be really critical in his life. It's like, where is his mind state when he's in transition? I think that's really the big key. And if he can make smooth and graceful transitions, the transition itself is in some ways more important than where he's going. That's part of this aspect. That's how I see it. And Pluto had been on his Chiron for the last year. And people that have Chiron in Capricorn, again, there's this whole issue around being a leader, being like the head of a business, being somebody who is willing to step forward and take on a role that is more inclusive of other people to some extent. It's different than Aquarius because, Capricorn is really about ambition. And people that have Chiron and Capricorn have struggled with this whole concept of ambition. And if you look at them, they're kind of in the sweet spot of the 60s. By the time in 1968, he would have been 16 years old, really coming of age, really feeling that 1960s vibe where everything was kind of anti-authoritarian, down with the man, expand your mind, turn on, tune in, drop out. So people that have Chiron and Capricorn have had a challenging issue at times with, the programming that they got during the 60s and this desire to be ambitious and successful. And so Pluto over his Chiron in the last year would have caused him to kind of revisit this in his own life and for him to look at whether or not he has been a success on his own terms. So, it's kind of like, in some ways, a past life review in this lifetime. And hopefully what he will have walked away with from a year's worth of Pluto on his Capricorn would have been some renewed sense of purpose and some renewed sense of, wanting to take another climb up the mountain and being, transformed and invigorated by Pluto on Chiron. So I think that this could be a very good year for him. And if he wants to, make some moves in his career, or he wants to expand, or maybe he wants to do something a little entrepreneurial on the side, I think the key for him is to look back on things he's done, and maybe let go of, or people that are in his network that could be helpful and help advance his cause. So all in all, I see a very positive year, especially with the Jupiter movement through his natal Jupiter, and then moving on to Jupiter conjuncting his moon for the latter part of this year, expanding emotionally and being actually quite excited about that and wanting to share more of himself emotionally with other people. How's that sound?
That sounds good. That's what he was interested, I think, in starting his own business over and above what he's doing. So yeah. That sounds good.
Yeah. I think it would be good. And one of the things that he's got in his chart is he's got Venus in Libra, which means that he could work well with other people. So if he wants, and also, by the way, Venus in his chart is conjunct Saturn. So, and it's a wide conjunction, 6 degrees, so it's not too crippling. Anytime you get a Venus-Saturn conjunction, if it's really close, it could be kind of challenging working with other people. But I think he's the type of guy that could, work really, really well with a partner. So if he's going to do something, I would encourage him to do something in conjunction with another person, to not only help him with the load of lifting the business off the ground, but also because I think he would enjoy it, and it would bring out some really good qualities in him, and obviously the other person that he's working with. So, yeah, I would encourage him to do it with another person as well. Excellent.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Well, what about you?
Well, that would be my birthday is 8/18/62, and I guess one of the things I'm working on, I'm dealing with some court issues with my ex-spouse, custody issues, and so I'm wondering if you can help me out with that.
Okay. Well, let's see here. Again, I'm 8/18/62. Let's check out your chart here. Let's see. Do you know if you've got a Aries moon or a Pisces moon? Do you know?
I think it's Aries.
Okay. So if you have an Aries moon, I'm assuming it's a very early degree of Aries, because again, I'm just looking off the solar chart here. One of the things, so if your moon is Oh, it's interesting because Uranus, you have Uranus in Virgo at 0 degrees, and that's where the moon is right now. So you're actually experiencing a moon-Uranus conjunction today. Exact. So if you have an early degree Aries moon, and I believe you do, and Uranus is, I believe it's at 0 or 1 degree Aries right now. I think it's at 0 degrees. So you've got this custody thing going on with the Uranus moon conjunction. I think that conjunction is challenging for you, okay? And the reason I say it's challenging is because moon is mother, right? And one of the things, and this could be kind of tricky because you, by the way, also have Venus in Libra, and the fellow that we just talked about, your Venus is conjunct his Venus. So you guys are very connected, but you probably already know that anyway. But the thing with an Aries moon, it's a very aggressive moon to begin with. And when you have Uranus conjuncting the moon, it adds yet more aggression, more energy, more willfulness, and it brings another element of instability in some ways with Uranus. So I would say for you that you have two courses of action with custody, okay? One would be to try to lay back and sort of temper the influence of Uranus on your moon, meaning allow the events to unfold and then respond accordingly and as aggressively as you can in the moment. Like, don't wait between any kind of letters, or you want to be prompt, but you'd want to be in some ways sort of playing center field. That's one strategy. The other strategy would be to be very, very clear and be very, very aggressive. And if you're very clear and very aggressive, then you have to also be willing to be nimble, be flexible, and it's almost like you would be sort of in a dojo in some ways, where you've got like 6 people coming at you one after the other, right? So you're there, they come at you, they make a move, you do a move, and then there's the next one, and then there's the next one, and then there's the next one. So I think what I'm saying here is that you've got to do one of two things. You've either got to go all in and commit to doing everything you can as quickly in real time as possible, or you have to lay back and then react very quickly. What you don't want to get caught in is an in-between place where you're vacillating from being reactive and proactive. Because I think with Uranus on your moon, you could get thrown for a loop. So my sense here is that you've got to take one course or the other. Either be aggressively proactive and get through it, or you've got to lay back and be strategically reactive and act quickly. Because but being conscious and having a conscious strategy though is key for this. And I will tell you that no matter what strategy you choose, you're going to have things that are going to come up that are going to be out of left field, because that's just the nature of the Uranus-Moon conjunction. So part of what might come up you have to watch your temper too at times. That's a big thing for you. And if you do anything in terms of going to court or being in front of a jury or being in front of a judge, you have got to keep your cool, because the Uranus-Moon conjunction in front of a jury, if you lose your cool or get angry, it will not look good. And it's a very electric, very powerful aspect. And if you're engaged in custody, you have to manage it. Now, the good news is if you are starting a new relationship or you're trying to reignite passion in your life with another person, it's fantastic. I mean, really fantastic. It's like, you feel like you're coming alive again for the first time in years. It's a very powerful conjunction. You're also going to be the beneficiary of the Jupiter transition into Gemini. You've got Mars in Gemini, 27 degrees. That won't be until 2013. The one thing that I am a little concerned with your chart is Chiron, and Chiron is at 9 degrees, and you're going to. So Chiron currently, I think, is at 6. So you're close to a Chiron conjunction in Pisces, and one of the things that you'll have to deal with in your own life, and especially as it relates to this custody piece, is vulnerability. You've got Jupiter you've got Jupiter exactly conjunct Pisces, Chiron and Pisces in your own chart, 9 degrees, 9 degrees. So there's an aspect of vulnerability here for you that you have to come to terms with and be okay with, working out your faith, having more of an investment in faith. That's also part of this conjunction. So you're going to have Chiron actually getting closer to your natal Jupiter. I don't believe you get into your Chiron return until 2013. And I think by that time, your custody piece will have played out. So part of this, though, also has to do with faith. We don't live in a vacuum. We don't live in a void. So one of the things that you can do, which personally I would recommend, because I've had to go through it my own way, and it's not always easy. Excuse me. But if you can get into a place of prayer and just ask for the highest good for everybody to be accomplished through a custody procedure, and let it go, and invoke a quality of faith. And that's not saying that you're going to give in or surrender, because with that moon in Aries, you're not going to do that. But allowing for another kind of energy to enter into your process, I think, is critical, especially with Chiron being so close to both your Jupiter and your Chiron. And a lot of times when we get involved with challenges with our exes, it can be really acrimonious. There's guilt, there's hurt, there's shame. It's a very explosive situation. I mean, I know this. I've gone through it my own way. So it's hard to sometimes detach and not take things so personally, especially when there are children involved. We think that we know what's best for our kids. It's a challenge. But what I would lovingly suggest that you do is to also bring this other process in, and sitting down and saying, look, I know we've got our differences. This is just for you internally, not for anybody else. I know we have our differences, but I trust and I pray and I trust that at a higher level, that our higher selves, in conjunction with this thing that we call creation or God or the universe, this force of love that binds our molecules together, can find an elegant solution for us, that we can come to a place where the expression of essence is so effortless, and we can figure this out and deal with it in a way that is not acrimonious. And then you just have faith and you walk away from that. And you go back to your strategy and you revisit it and you engage, but at least you've invoked this quality. And with Jupiter and Chiron in your chart, you should be a natural at it, and Chiron would be really prompting you to explore this other reality, this other experience that would allow a more elegant solution to come into your life.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Yes, definitely.
Okay. Now you're not gonna look. you've got that Aries moon. You're not going to be. You're never not going to be a spiritual warrior, especially when it comes to your child. You'll never give that up. But if you can at least allow this other thing to come in and sit back a little bit and see how it manifests, I think it would be an interesting exercise for you to build on your faith.
Yeah, I think so. So far, I don't have a problem. I haven't had a problem with temper in court. I'm very calm and when I'm in there.
Okay.
And nervous. So for me, I don't get angry in there. It's a little different. So I think I definitely can do that.
Good.
But you're right, probably with the responding, because I'm representing myself, you have to do it in the way you had expressed. Be very prompt and very clear.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Well, hey, you're welcome. And have your friend listen to the podcast, and I hope it all goes well for both of you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Okay, take good care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, so there we go. It's 10:56. We're coming up on 11 o'clock here in California. You're listening to Navigating the Astrological Matrix. I'm your host, Robert Phoenix. And let's go to the 808 line and find out who they are, where they're calling from, and what they want to talk about. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, hey, welcome.
Hello?
Yeah, hi.
Hi, my name is Sandra. I'm calling from Hawaii.
Hi, Sandra.
And,
Would you turn your computer down a little bit?
What's that?
I can hear myself. Would you mind turning your computer down just a little bit?
Okay.
Thanks.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Is that better?
It's much better. Okay, well, aloha.
Aloha, yeah. Well, I'm at the end of a difficult relationship, and I'm stepping away from it. Do you see me getting married again and actually attracting a more spiritual person this time?
Absolutely. That was easy, huh? When is your birthday, Sandra?
March 21st, 48. Now, the year I was born, at the time I was born, the sun was still in Pisces.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like real right on the cusp there.
So what was the year again? Was it 78?
48.
48. Oh, 48. Oh, okay.
I'm a young 64-year-old.
So you're a rat, just like me.
Yeah, I'm a rat.
You. I have a good friend who's born in 48 who's a rat. Okay, so you say the sun was in Pisces when you were born, so 29 degrees, is that right?
Yeah, I think.
And it looks like you have Leo moon, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Mercury, Pisces, where's that Venus? Ooh, you've got Venus in Taurus.
What does that mean?
Well, so Venus in Taurus is great. So first of all, people that have Venus in Taurus, I think, look, I don't believe that everybody needs somebody all the time, but I do think we need each other. Generally speaking, people need each other. It's just the way it is. We have physical bodies. We're not running around as balls of gas on the planet. But Venus in Taurus actually needs people in some ways more than other aspects. And the reason I say that is because Taurus is a very physical sign. Yeah. And Venus, of course, is relationship. So having, people with Venus and Taurus, it's good for them to live with people, close physical proximity, under the same roof, sleeping or sharing the same bed, sharing meals together, all very important. It gives the person who has Venus and Taurus a sense of being grounded and connected and loved. It's a very tactile Venus, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
right on. Yeah.
Jupiter's in Taurus this year, and you have the opportunity to be able to experience that, right? So let's see, you've got Venus at 18 degrees. Oh, I'm sorry, 13 degrees. Yes, 13, hold on. 14 degrees. Yeah, 14 degrees. And the good news for that is that you're going to be able to experience that pretty quickly. So let's go to the ephemeris here. Let's get into 2012.
Okay.
And 14 degrees. Okay, so what we want to look for is about a 4-degree orb. So let's go all the way back or head to March. And let's go to March 21st. Hey.
Yeah, my birthday.
There you go. That's when that's when Jupiter is in Taurus, excuse me, at 10 degrees, a nice 4-degree orb. So from the 21st to the 8th of April is when it goes from 10 to 14. On the 8th of April, actually from the 5th of April through the 8th of April, that's when Jupiter will be right on top of and exactly conjunct your natal Venus. Now, I would not necessarily recommend that you go out and get married during that time, but I'm telling you, you have the opportunity to connect with somebody, meet with somebody, and this Jupiter, Venus, Taurus energy could be very long standing. I mean, it has legs, is what I'm saying. So how would you go about doing this? Well, what would be an interesting venue for you to meet somebody under this Taurus energy? Any place where you can go out and move your body, dancing.
Okay.
Yeah, anything, dancing, yoga.
Karaoke?
Yeah, it could be, absolutely. Karaoke would be fun because you're out there, your physical, Taurus rules the voice. So yes, I mean, look, if you, not everybody likes karaoke, right? I mean, and so if you go out and you do karaoke and you met somebody there who is also doing karaoke, I mean, you've checked off a big box, right?
Yes.
Hey, we both love karaoke. Isn't this cool? Yeah, it's cool. You can go out and be silly together and sing and do all that stuff. So yeah, karaoke would be great. I think the opportunity for you to meet somebody new on the back end of a relationship this year with the Jupiter-Venus conjunction is outstanding.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And let's see what else you have here. You've got Mars in Leo, so you are not afraid of showing your affection. You also have Saturn in Leo. You go to Mars. You've got Mars, Saturn conjunction. Interesting, very interesting. So on one hand, on the one hand, you're not afraid of showing your affection. That's not a problem. Sometimes getting affection back from people can be challenging, though.
Yeah, that's a big problem with this last relationship.
Yeah. But don't, keep your heart open. Absolutely, keep your heart open. And then, of course, Jupiter, but this is in 2013. Oh, look, you've got your true node in Taurus. Go out and find yourself a nice stocky Taurus with a good singing voice.
I love men who are Taurus types. I love that.
Yeah. Well, we're going to dial that up for you, okay?
Okay.
There you go. Anything else today?
No, that's wonderful. Well, I'm also pursuing an acting career. I'm taking acting lessons right now.
Mars
and I work on Hawaii Five-0 every now and then as a background extra.
Yeah, Mars and Leo. It's good.
That?
Yeah, Mars and Leo, perfect for acting. And what's interesting too, right, is Saturn. Saturn's one of those things where, you come to the gifts of Saturn accrue later in life. That's just the nature of Saturn. And where do you have? You've got it in Leo, which is acting, creativity, expression. So this is this is a cool thing for you. I say, yeah, thumbs up, green light, go for it.
All right, thank you. You really give me help. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks for calling in all the way from Hawaii.
Yes, you have to come out here. It's beautiful.
My ex-wife, who's a Leo, lives in Hawaii.
Oh, she lives right now?
Yeah, right now she lives in Kauai.
Okay, well, I'm in Oahu, so that's the next island over.
Yeah,
right.
She's a good lady. Her name is Susan. She has a bakery on Kauai.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What
okay.
What time is the bakery? Okay, well, thank you very much. You have a good day.
You too now. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, all the way from Hawaii. Okay, we got a 440 number. It just called in. So let's bring them on. Hello, you're on the air with Robert. How are you?
Hi, Robert. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great. What's your name?
Brandon.
Hey, Brandon. Where are you calling from?
Ohio.
Ohio. Okay. So what's on your mind today, Brandon? What do you want to talk about?
Well, lots and lots of talk of Taurus and Jupiter, which I'm sun sign Taurus, and then I actually was calling to see about just what's going on with my own natal Jupiter and transit Jupiter and progress, whatever.
When's your birthday, Brandon?
May 12th, 1989.
Okay. Let's dial you up here. Okay. March, April, May.
I feel like I'm not a typical Taurus, as you were talking about, stocky Tauruses, but I am the complete opposite of that.
Well, you've got Venus, other than your sun sign, 21 degrees Taurus, you're probably, in some ways, much more Gemini, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it feels like it.
Yeah, you look at your chart, you've got Jupiter in Gemini at 11 degrees. You have Venus in Gemini, 0 degrees. So right at the beginning of Venus in Gemini. And then you have Mercury in Gemini at 6 degrees. First degree retrograde, by the way. So you have a stellium of planets in Gemini, which would make you far more Gemini than Taurus. So,
right.
are you a writer? Do you enjoy writing?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So that would be certainly highlighted. In fact, when Jupiter transits into Gemini in June, July, I think Jupiter gets up to, I think the highest it gets this year is 9 degrees. So you're going to have a Jupiter-Venus conjunction straight out of the gate, which is great. Gets you out of your emotional and relationship rut very quickly. And then Jupiter hangs out with your Mercury for most of the year. So you're going to have a Jupiter-Mercury conjunction. And part of the Jupiter-Mercury conjunction in Gemini would be reconnecting with old passions, old skills, old hobbies, things from your past that might have interested you when you were a youth, and then you can resurrect those things and bring them into the present. For instance, let's say as a kid you were really into comic books, right? The Jupiter-Mercury conjunction would spark an interest in comics on some level. Now, you may not go run out and start collecting comics again, but you would think about, well, how did this impact me? How did this influence me? What archetypes was I attracted to when I was a kid? How, what can I take from this and incorporate it into my life? I mean, there are a lot of different variations on that theme, but it's generally going to be highlighted by looking back into your life with that Mercury retrograde. And I think anything to do with communication, writing, and being able to put things together, puzzles, your own past together, even personal archaeology, looking back on who you were. Do you have siblings?
Yeah.
So part of that Jupiter conjunction with Venus, conjunction with Mercury retrograde, would be reevaluating your relationships with your siblings. Who are they? What are they? Where are they? It would also be a really good time to experience kind of a family reunion and getting everybody together under the same roof and sharing stories. And some of the stories could actually fill in some holes in your life, spackle some of the cracks on your foundation. So that would be really, really well highlighted. You've got a lot of Capricorn in your chart.
Yeah.
So you're interesting. You're kind of a Gemini Capricorn, mix. And Gemini is kind of, I wouldn't say it's lightweight at all, because I think Geminis are capable of really kind of profound intellectual muscle and capacity, but
right.
they have a much more airy and
Exactly.
And a kind of detached relationship with reality at times, you know, very observational. Capricorn's a very different energy. Capricorn is, Capricorn wants to win. Capricorn, sees the big picture, long-term goals, and works hard towards those goals. And you've got this exact conjunction between Neptune and Saturn in your chart. And Pluto gets close to, it gets closest to Neptune in your chart this year. So part of the Pluto-Neptune conjunction, in my estimation, with Capricorn is having kind of a mystical glimpse or an otherworldly view into your own potential. And I think
I feel like I've felt that coming for like a while now.
Well, Pluto is really going to open a much bigger vista and a much bigger window, and then you'll be able to step back and say, hey, what am I really capable of? What can I really do if I put my mind to this and really invested? It's funny. I wanted to bring this up today because I saw this movie last night. I was trying to figure out a way to bring it up. I was watching this really interesting movie from the 1980s. It's called Countryman, and it's kind of a fascinating film. It's shot in Jamaica, and the plot line is a plane goes down in Jamaica, and they've got guns on the plane, and it's kind of a sketchy situation. And there's this guy he's a fisherman. And he runs around in a pair of shorts for the entire movie, and he rescues these people who crash in this plane. He's actually a really good guy. And the fascinating thing about him is that he's got he's an Obeah, so he has these really kind of unique supernatural abilities. And you see him. He keeps talking about, because he lives a natural life and a clean life and a simple life and a good life, that he has guidance. And he's able to tap into the elements in a very interesting and unique way. In some ways, this is this aggregation of Capricorn, because Capricorn is an earth sign, and it's about the body, and it's about really exalting and pushing the limits of the body. It's where the body kind of, goes off into space and has this really, this interesting connection between the body and these etheric states. And, I've seen this people who have, it's a wide conjunction, but it's the Uranus-Neptune conjunction in Capricorn. What you have is you have people that are really kinesthetic. They're good dancers. They're on the extreme tip, and they can do, like a guy like Travis Pastrana can do all kinds of crazy shit. You know what I mean? So, so that's part of this. So it's not just about, stepping back and saying, well, if I really, really kind of understand who I am and embrace who I am and push who I am from a point of from an aspirational perspective, it's not just that. It's more in some ways. I don't want to use the word supernatural, but it's also about really being in tune with the cycles of nature, and really being in tune with the earth and using the body as a vehicle for some, really interesting experiences. So I think this is a great conjunction for you. The nice thing about what you have in your chart is you've got Mars in Cancer, which keeps you open and sensitive, right? So you're never going to be an asshole. So in fact, in some ways, the challenge for you is the opposition between Uranus and Capricorn and Mars and Cancer. And then you've got this whole Chiron and Cancer overlay, which comes together. So I would say, summing all this up for you, I would say that as long as you are in the service of nurturing, helping, assisting, and being sensitive towards other people in your environment, as long as you kind of embrace that and ground that, you can push this envelope with this Capricornian stuff, and you're smart enough, you're quick enough, you're agile enough, and you have the ability to kind of play with synchronicity with that Jupiter Mercury conjunction, kind of borderline magic. You got a lot of great tools, and as long as you understand that you're always going to, be sensitive to the people and the environment around you, I think you're going to fly, and I think this year is going to be a very interesting year for you.
Yeah, I feel it. I do.
Yeah.
Intense.
And you've got Neptune right now on your true node, man. That's a big deal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and Neptune, so you've got true node in Pisces. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about mysticism. We're talking about being able to blend into.
What does true node give you, like, insight to?
The true node is, so classically, it's like it's the energy and the direction that you really want to put your motivation and intention to in this lifetime. So, for instance, you and I are flipped. Like, I have my true node in Virgo, and my south node is in Pisces. So it's like I've been in the temple, I've been in the monastery, I've done that stuff, right? And this lifetime is a lifetime of service and being out in the world. My true node is in the 10th house. Hence, I'm talking to you on the phone right now or through a computer. For you, it's different. You've done that in past lives, right? You've been the guy that's been there in the, helping, serving, caring, blah, blah, blah. This lifetime, you have to take time out for meditation. You have to take time out to be able to honor this deeper current that runs through your life. And we look at your true node, it conjuncts Chiron in Pisces, it conjuncts Mars in Pisces. So you can actually get into some very deep meditative states. And with Neptune on your true node right now, it's almost essential that you do, especially if you want to block out the noise of the world and kind of our current time. So, and anything, by the way, anything you can do with water, fantastic. Saunas. Have you ever done a sensory deprivation tank?
No, I have not.
Okay. If you can find one in your area, I think that would be a potentially profound experience for you. Especially
that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. It's been coming up a lot recently of just swimming, beaches, going out, and I've been thinking about it a lot in the past at least week. I'm like, man, I just love submersing myself in just water completely.
There you go. And when I don't know if you know anything about sensory deprivation tanks, but they use literally, I'm not kidding you, tons of salt in these things. I mean, it's huge amounts of salt. So in a very concentrated little pool of water, right? So you climb into these things and you shut the door, completely dark, and you float above the water. It's really a trip.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So,
some psychic medium, whatever, they told me that you need to be taking salt baths, if anything, and I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know. I don't understand the significance of that salt water.
Well, in the sensory deprivation tank, you get to just buoyantly kind of exist. It's almost like you're in the womb. It's really what it's like.
Okay.
So, yeah, and then everything just kind of melts away. And I think, really, with all this water in your chart, to be a very, very interesting experience for you. So it's almost like you're meditating in a cave, really.
Right.
Cave. And they have one here in Oakland, which I go to every now and then. And I highly recommend it for anybody. It's a very cool thing, but especially for you.
Very cool. That's something I'm going to look into.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground here, don't you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That was very cool.
All right.
Robert, you're awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks for calling in, and carpe diem.
No problem.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. It's 11:19 here in California, Point Richmond, California. Speaking of Richmond, apparently there was a UFO that was spotted over Richmond, Virginia. At least that's what I read. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take one more call, and then I'm going to take a little bit of a break. I'll play some music. I'll come back, and we'll do some more readings. Let's see who this person is. Hi, you're on the air. Thanks for calling in.
Hello?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
How's it going?
Pretty good.
Good. What's your name?
Oh, Marie.
Maureen?
Marie, M-A-R-I-E.
Hi, Marie. Where are you calling
Hi.
from, Marie?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. All right. Well, welcome to the show. And what would you like to talk about today?
Oh, great reading before me. Just kind of the sense of what he's asking. I mean, I'm kind of off balance right now, and I just wanted to know what's going on with my chart.
What year were you born?
12/12/1967.
12/12/67. Okay. So you're going to have a 12/12/12 birthday this year, huh?
Yep.
All right, hold on. All right. 12.
Okay.
Let's see. 12/12/67. Okay. So there you are. I got you lined up here. Sag Sun, and you're looking for balance. You say is that what the?
Yeah, kind of a shitstorm going on, and.
So there you go. Now we're getting real. I like that. Okay, it looks like you have a Taurus moon. Let's see. Mercury Sag, Venus in Scorpio, Mars Aquarius, Jupiter Virgo. All right. So one of the things that I see with your chart is, let's see, Uranus is currently just about 4 degrees off of your natal Saturn. And the Uranus-Saturn, there are a couple energies that I think are hard to deal with in terms of conjunctions. Uranus on Saturn is a hard energy to deal with, and also Mars on Neptune is a challenging energy to deal with. When I'm talking about conjunctions. So when Uranus crosses over, we're getting closer to your natal Saturn, there is a real sense of restlessness that is accrued when Uranus hits Saturn. There can also, because you have Saturn in Aries, there can also be intense power struggles with Uranus on Aries. And so part of people that have Saturn in Aries, generally by and large, have challenging times with leadership, charting their own course in life, dealing with people in positions of authority and power. It's a lifelong exercise in understanding the dynamics of accountability and will. That is part of your challenge through this lifetime, okay? As you get older, you're going to be getting better at expressing this, understanding what you need, what you want, and do it in a way where you're not attached to the outcome in some way. I've seen this with a friend of mine who's actually, it's her birthday today, who has Saturn in Aries, and I've watched her go through iterations of understanding her will. And sometimes she steps on people's toes, but I think she's finally kind of getting it and doing what she needs and doing what she wants in order to kind of figure that out. Uranus on Saturn is going to accelerate this process for you. It's going to speed it up, and you're going to get more static and more pushback from your environment until you say, this is how I want to do it, this is how I'm going to get it done, and to do it kind of unapologetically and to own it. Uranus on your Saturn is pushing you to own your will and to own your own sense of accountability, your own leadership, your own direction. And when you do that, interesting things can happen. Now, Uranus will conjunct your Saturn this year, and I'll give you the exact date for that. So you're at 5 degrees. So let's go there now. Hold on. Let's see, where are you? 5 degrees. So Uranus will hit your natal Saturn in April. So not only will Uranus hit your natal Saturn, but at that same time, the sun will be at 14 degrees, so it will already have touched your natal Saturn. So it's going to be kind of a 1-2 Sun-Uranus punch. So this cycle for you with your natal Saturn really peaks. Now, Uranus will go backwards and it'll hit it again, but this is the first time it's going to hit your natal Saturn in a really big way. And my sense is that you're going to have to make decisions. And you're going to have it's the pressure for you. I don't think the pressure will go away until you make very clear decisions about who you are, where you want to go, and how you want to lead your life. And the challenge with Uranus on your Saturn is that you're probably going to have about 5 or 6 other people telling you what to do at the same time. So that's an issue. So let's go back to 12-12-67 again and find out what else is going on here. Let's see. 12, there you are. Now the thing you've got an early. Looks like you have an early Taurus moon. So theoretically, Jupiter conjuncting your moon right around now would actually be quite good. If I were you, and I hear you've got a young one in the background there,
yeah.
But with Jupiter conjunct your moon, you have to take time out for your emotions. You know, with Jupiter conjunct your moon, you have to slow down a little bit because you're rewarded by rewarding yourself. So even if you can take, say, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour out of your day to do something physical that nurtures yourself, you'll gain a great deal of rejuvenation. So I'm talking a massage, or I'm talking a pedicure, or a facial. You don't have to go away for a whole day for a spa, although that could be nice. But you have to take some time out of each day to take advantage of this Jupiter-Moon conjunction. You know, you have to really kind of fall in love again with your ability to nurture, and Jupiter can do that. But you got to carve that out, though. Just trying to see what else is happening here. You've got right now also a really nice trine between Jupiter in Virgo, which is what you have, and transiting Jupiter, which is again at 1 or 2 degrees Taurus. So what is Jupiter saying? You've got to take care of yourself. You know, you've got to nurture yourself. You have to take time out. You know, Jupiter in Virgo is always rewarded when you eat right, when you sleep well. All these things that you do to take care of your body. If you do those things, you have a lot more to give. So I think the biggest issue right now is to be able to consciously unplug at times and slow down and take care of yourself and really try to you know to nurture your body, mind, and spirit the best that you can. At the meantime, you got to deal with this direction in your life and how you want to do things and the ways you want to do things. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to get to a crisis and have this Uranus-Saturn thing just say, I can't take it anymore, you know, I'm getting the fuck out of here. You don't want it to get to that point. It may get to that point, but you don't want
That's where it's, that's why
I
called.
Yeah, so what you want to do is here's the first thing that I would do. And if you take away anything from this reading today, is that you have to find time to unplug during your day and to take care of your body and do something really simple, like get a $25 pedicure or a manicure. You have to do that. It's critical because during those moments, you get to change the chemistry in your brain. All of a sudden now you're off this wheel, the hamster wheel, and you get to think about things differently. You say, oh wow, what if I did this today? Or what if I did this tomorrow? This is critical. The more that you do that, the better you'll be able to deal with this Uranus Aries energy, so you don't explode and just run out of the house and say, I'm out of here, I'm leaving. Now, you may do that anyway, okay? I'm not saying that you won't do that, but I'm telling you, if you can take care of your body, even to the smallest degree, and take those little timeouts, what you'll do is you'll have less stress around it, you'll be more resolute, and you won't be as reactive, okay?
Mhm. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
All right, so if I asked you, okay, now that you've got this knowledge, you're armed with this knowledge, and you have 72 hours, 48 hours, you don't want to wait too long, you have 48 hours to go out and carve an hour out for yourself tomorrow or Friday, what would you do?
Oh, I'd probably go get my hair done.
Oh, good. That's a good start. That's a good start. You want to do something every day, though. I'm serious. And it doesn't have to be big, okay? Maybe it's a cup of tea,
Well, yeah, that's why I came on Blog Talk Radio today, because I've listened to you before, and just kind of needed it today. Little pick-me-up push.
You got a lot going on there, I can tell.
Oh, you don't even know.
Well, take a deep breath, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Take a deep breath and take some time out for yourself. And if you can, you're a Sagittarius, right?
Yep.
Sagittarians are always bolstered and rewarded by their optimism and faith. So what you have to do is you've got to find your faith again.
Quick question.
Yeah.
I'm a stay-at-home mom right now. My daughter's going to be going to kindergarten soon. What direction do you think I should go career-wise to fulfill me? I've been out of work for 14 years now, raising my kids, and I just feel kind of like lost. I don't know where to begin again.
Do you have any interest in any of the following subjects: health care, body care, massage, nutrition, diet? Do any of those things interest you?
I've always worked in a hospital environment. Yeah, I like stuff like that.
Okay. Well, Jupiter and Virgo, we looked at Jupiter where the gift is, and you've got it in Virgo. So any of those things that are Virgo related, some of which I just reeled off, you could plug into quite easily. But you've got Mars in Aquarius, so part of you is really iconoclastic, and people with that have Mars in Aquarius can get along, but they don't like people telling them what to do. Mars in Aquarius can be very, very stubborn, and they're very open and very progressive, but with the exception of Jupiter and Virgo in your chart, which should be very service oriented, you have some interesting aspects. You've got Mercury in Sag, you've got Sun in Sag, which is very optimistic, very forward thinking, very progressive on some level, and can be very inspirational. Doesn't like to be fenced in. And Mars in Aquarius, again, super progressive, a bit of a scientific and technical aspect with Mars in Aquarius. So if you decided to go back into nursing or healthcare or something along those lines, body care, then I would try to do it from more of an alternative perspective this go around. Have you ever thought about going back to school?
Yes, I would love to get back, but takes money to go back to school.
Well, you'd be surprised. I think, somebody who's in your situation, if you hunted around, I bet you could find a student loan or some sort of scholarship that would allow you to maybe get some retraining, different kind of training.
That's my only regret in life. I have no regrets, except for I didn't go back to school and do what my heart loves. I mean, I love interior decorating. I'm very creative. Art. I went to art school, but I went for I went for fashion illustration,
right,
instead of interior design, which that was or being a buyer. I wanted to do, but more interior design and that's probably my biggest regret in my life, because I wanted to be a mom and be there for my kids, and I just didn't think of me getting older and
yeah, well, I bet your
being
kids,
lost.
I bet your kids are grateful that you were a mom for them and being there for them.
Oh, they're still little, so I guess still got to be there. They're 10 and 5.
Yeah. Well, they'll. I tell you, one of these days, they'll appreciate it. And I think moms are underrated, and especially in our society. So,
it's a hard job.
It is a very hard job.
As you can see, I can't even talk to you without her chiming in, or my dog's trying to escape from the feds.
Right. Well, I think if you wanted to get into, again, nutrition, body health, body awareness, any of those things, I think you could. For instance, I'll give you a quick example, and I'll let you take care of your daughter. Like, for instance, if you want to be a receptionist at a spa or some sort of an alternative healing center or something like that.
Yeah.
You could probably get in very quickly, and you would learn about the business. You'd be surprised about what you could learn in terms of not just answering phones or making appointments, but ultimately migrating into more of the meat of those businesses.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thanks for calling in. And
thank you for your words.
Yeah, and take good care of yourself.
Yeah. I'm trying.
Right.
Okay. Thanks, Robert.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
Wow. Rigors of the modern life. Okay. I'm going to play a little bit of music. I think that's Lenise there, just listening. That's all. So, hi, Lenise. How are you? Nice to see you. I know you're listening. Maybe I'll chime in with you after the break. I'm going to play a little bit of music. I'll hit the chat room, and we'll come back and we'll wind down the last half hour of the show. Okay. You're listening to Navigating the Astrological Matrix. I'm Robert Phoenix. I'm your host, and I'm your navigator. And I'll be back in 5 minutes and 16 seconds. All right, that was Porcupine Tree. Apparently, I'm way ahead of the curve here in terms of time, because I was playing music and typing, and there's a delay of several minutes. It's very odd, extremely odd. Let's check in with our friend Lenise. Let's see how she's doing. Lenise?
Hello, Robert.
Yeah, hey, how's it going?
I'm pretty good. How about yourself?
Not bad, although it's weird. I was in the chat room, and then I was playing music, and which you probably heard, and I was typing. People were asking me how I could talk and type at the same time, and they were actually hearing me on my last call. I was like minutes ahead. It was very strange.
Wow. Well, you know, everything looks real strange. I'm just getting my feet back on the ground today.
Where are you?
I'm at Whole Foods eating some good food.
What's on the menu today?
I'm having a black bean patty, mock chicken, and some stir-fried veggies, and a small salad with quinoa in it and bell peppers. I just mixed a little bit of everything up together.
That sounds delicious.
It's like now, yeah, it is, and I've got to do what I know, you know, with the blood pressure thing. I've just been grieving that, and now I'm getting up. I got to pull out all the stops on and use everything that I know. I know what to do. I've got all my books. I've got juicers and everything, so now I got to do it.
All right. Well, good for you. You're taking charge of being accountable for your experience. That's great.
Yeah. It's been a whirlwind this weekend. I actually had a trip planned before all this came up, and I went to New Orleans, and I had a good time. But I was still kind of scared or leery or just kind of blown out of the water by all of this.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
But I'm back on the ground now. I got my feet back on the ground, and I feel better.
Well, good for you. When you go to New Orleans, what are some of the things you do?
Well, actually, I went to the aquarium. I had to part from my group because they were on one. They had one agenda, and I had another one, so I went off by myself. I went to the aquarium, did a photo shoot, and I went for a lunch cruise on the Mississippi River. And that was very nice.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Nice and grounding, all of that.
Good for you. Good for you. I like New Orleans.
Yeah, it had a good feel to it. I loved it.
Yeah. The one time that I went there, I had a good time, from what I can remember. So, yeah.
I wrote the train down, and that was a new experience. So it was kind of like my guides were carrying me the whole time.
Oh, good. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, I was definitely guided because I was just, with the blood pressure being so high and all, I'm thinking, what is going on?
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't want this.
Yeah.
So I was kind of grieving, but I'm better now and just accepted what's going on. And now I've got to use the medication and then transition off. I'm going to go to a neuropathic doctor to help me to transition off of it. So I'll give it about 90 days to 6 months.
Well,
and with
good.
my lifestyle changes and all of that, I should be able to transition over and come out being a very healthy, prettier girl.
Ooh. We're in trouble then. I can tell you.
Yeah. And let me tell you the magic about spirit. My guides had me to take some pictures to encourage myself on what I'm going to look like at my future self. And my future self is my previous self that I was before I got out of balance. So I thought that was really neat. And, I've heard people say that guides do funny things, and I know it was them that had me to do that. So that was very encouraging. So now I got these new hot mama pictures of me, and the pictures were altered, to make you look more perfect.
Right. I love
in certain areas.
That's great.
So, and I'm just so excited about those pictures. I'm going to post them in my house and really make a vision board out of it to help me on my path to healing, through my healing.
That is really creative. That is what we call creative visualization.
Yeah. Right.
Good for
and
you.
I wanted a picture, so my guys gave me 2, so I'm grateful for that.
Good. That's excellent. Well, congratulations on that, and you sound like you're in really good spirits.
Well, I'm back. I've been, I was kind of under the weather, but I kind of had to hold it together and say, okay, move on. This is what it is, and here's what you got to do.
I hear you. I've been faced with those moments as well, Yeah. So it was like, I think it was about 6 months ago, and I gave up gluten. I gave up wheat. And
wow, good for you.
Yeah, and it changed my life. I've told this to people before on the show and elsewhere that I used to have TMJ, and my jaw, all my life, my jaw would crack. I'd go to kiss somebody, and my jaw would crack. It's a little disturbing,
Yeah.
And once I gave up wheat, all of a sudden I didn't have any more TMJ. It was pretty remarkable. So.
Yeah. I'm leaning towards that as well too. While I'm doing it, I've got gluten-free crackers and gluten-free bread.
Yeah.
Plus I'm just gonna do the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, I just found a recipe for gluten-free wonton, gluten-free pot stickers. I love pot stickers. And I just found a recipe for one. I'm gonna try to break it out.
Yeah, when you change your diet, you certainly have to get into the recipes and start cooking.
Absolutely, I don't mind that. I trust my food more than anybody else's.
Yeah, so I'm back in the kitchen and everything.
No problem with that. Well, I'm going to let you get back to food. Speaking of food, and eat your salad there.
Well, thanks for touching bases.
You bet, and thank you for listening in, and we'll catch up with you down the road, Lenise.
Okay, I'll be here.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That's our good friend Lenise, down in Memphis. All right, so I think we're going to bring this show to a close here. I think the time has come, and I want to thank everybody for calling in and navigating the astrological matrix with me, your host, Robert Phoenix. You can go to my website, robertphoenix.com. I have a new post up about the mega ritual and the Super Bowl, Madonna, and the significance behind a lot of the symbolism that was being projected at the Super Bowl. You can check that out. It's a pretty long post. And then there's all kinds of other stuff happening at the website. So I want to thank Jana for heading up the chat room while she was here, and of course Erica for all her help and her support on on a lot of the visual tip and the stuff that we do on the website. So thank you all. Thank you for calling in, all the guests and all the people that make my life relevant and help me get up each day. So that's it. All right. My name is Robert Phoenix. You've been listening to Navigating the Astrological Matrix, and use your head to discern what's real, your heart to open what's possible. I'll be back on Friday with Less Visible and radical rebel film director Abel Ferrara, and I think we'll have some interesting conversations with both of them. I'll be talking about Abel Ferrara's latest film, 4444, starring Willem Dafoe, and it's about a love affair that takes place at the end of the world, which is very timely for 2012. Well, I hope the rest of your world today is as positive and joyous and hopeful as you can handle and channel. And with that, I bid you adieu. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to stay open to what's possible. I'll see you on Friday.
We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu. perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words, I submit that these impressions are valid and significant. And I will even say this, such an impression is a clue that at some past time point, a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this, an alternative world branched off,